Let's prepare a two-column cash book. First of all, it's better to identify the debit and the credit entries of each transaction. September 1st, proprietor puts capital into a bank account for the business 10,940. The double entry would be bank account debit, capital account credit. Therefore, you know that this entry appears on the debit side of the cash book. Second, received check from Mr. Boone. When you receive a check, bank debit and M. Boone credit. So this transaction also appears on the debit side of the cash book. Cash sales 802 on 4th. Cash account debit and sales account credit. So this appears on the debit side of the cash book in the cash column. Paid rent by cash. You're making a payment for rent. So rent expense debit and it's by cash, therefore cash credit. And this goes to the cash book on the credit side of the cash column. Bank 50 of the cash held by the business. Bank balance will increase, the cash balance will reduce. The bank debit and cash credit. In the cash book, in the cash column. Bank cash sales paid direct into the bank. Therefore, bank account debit, sales account credit. This is bank debit. Paid check to S. Wills. Paying to S. Wills debit and bank credit. We credit the bank by 29th. We drew cash from the bank for business use. Cash balance will increase, bank balance will reduce. From the bank, you're withdrawing money. The cash, debit, and bank, credit. Paid wages in cash. Wages debit and cash credit. So let's credit the cash. Now let's put these entries into a two-column cash book. The first entry says September 1st, proprietor puts capital into the bank account for the business. Double entry is bank debit, capital credit. Go to your cash book and this is your debit side and go under bank and you write 10,940. So 10,940 on the debit side as capital opposite account's name and it is on 1st September 9, 2008. Now we are done with the first transaction. Received check from M. Boone. Bank debit, M. Boone credit. Cash book, bank column, 315 and opposite account's name, M. Boone, and the date is at 2nd 9, 2008. Fine. And the next information, cash sales. Cash sales double entry, cash column debit, sales account credit, cash column 802 and description sales and the date is on 1st 9/08. Now we are done with these two transactions. Paid rent by cash. So this should go to the credit side, and the date is on 6/9/08 as rent. The value of rent is paid by cash 135, therefore cash column 135. We are done with this transaction. Let's move on to the next. Bank 50 of the cash held by the business. That is this one. Bank debit, cash credit. Bank debit worth of 50. Opposite account's name will be cash, and the date is on 7/8/09. And now we move on to the credit side of the cash book, and the date would be 7/8/08. Opposite account's name bank, and we'll credit it in the cash column by 50. Let's move into the next transaction. Cash sales paid direct into the bank. This is on 15/9/08. On 15th, this one, bank debit sales credit. The bank column, we will enter it by 490, and opposite account's name sales. We're done with this transaction. Let's move on to the next. Paid check to escrows. The double entry for this: escrows debit, bank credit. Go to the cash book, bank column, and the value is 277, and to whom we paid it is escrows, and the date is as at 23rd 9/08. Next transaction: withdrew cash from the bank for business use. So the cash balance will increase, bank value will reduce. The cash debit, bank credit. Go to the cash book, amount to the debit side 29/9/08. Opposite account's name will be cash, and it is on the debit side of the cash column 120. And then on the credit side, same date 29/9/08. Opposite account's name bank, and in the bank column at 120. We're done with this transaction. Paid wages in cash. It goes to the credit side of the cash book, cash column, and that is on 30th. Paid wages by cash. Therefore, cash column credit by 518. Okay. Now it's time to balance off the cash book, but before moving into it, you can clearly see this transaction as well as this transaction are related to cash and bank. So always make sure to write C, which is a contra. And here also compulsory to write C, as well as this transaction and this one are relevant to cash and bank. So again, it's a contra entry. Now let's balance off. To balance off this, let's first complete the debit and the credit side of the cash column. Now, when you make a comparison, you can see that the debit side is greater than the credit side. So let's see the total on the debit side. Total of 802, 490 and 120, which gives 1412. From that we find the difference between these three. So the total of these three would be the total of these three are 703. So from 1412 deduct 703, which is equal to sum from this value deduct 703 and we'll end up with the answer 709. So this will be as at 30th 908, as I'll carry it down, and then on to the next date, which is 1/10/08, as I'll brought down 709. Okay. Now let's balance off the two bank columns. When you make a comparison with the two bank columns, you can see debit side is greater, therefore equal. You find the total of this. It is 11,305, and then you take away that from these balances. Therefore, equals from this balance, take away this, you will get 10,908. So this is how you complete a two-column cash.